cannot invent and pioneer if you cannot accept failure.
We wanted people that were insanely great at what they did.
Nobody was making any money at all. Most people thought the internet was going to be a fad.
All right. Today on the podcast, I have Cory McKane. We met through Twitter, which I believe is where most amazing relationships start. So I was creeping around on what he's doing, and he's building some really impressive stuff with the SaaS that he has, and even stuff before that. He has his own podcast studio. He rents out he's extended an invitation to me. I just have to buy a plane ticket to go there, but can't wait. But Cory, nice to meet you, man.
Pleasure, man. Yeah, it's great to meet you. I'm glad we were able to connect over Twitter. I think Twitter is the most it's becoming higher rated, but it's definitely the most underrated way to like connect in the tech world for sure. And I actually do two other things too that I never mentioned because my bio gets too long. But I host tons of tech events. I actually have a 500-person tech beer pong tournament in April coming up.
Is that in Austin or where is that?
It's in Austin, yeah. So it started off at 120 players, and then it was 256, and then now it's 512, and so we which happens to be Austin's area code actually, so it's pretty cool. But the 512 represent. Yeah, so I just bring in a bunch of founders and investors, and we did some massive beer pong tournaments, tons of fun. But I host like weekly like tech meetups too. And then my funniest role that's like actually paying a good amount of my salary right now is I run a growth for Fractal. It's this guy I met in Oklahoma, one of my best friends now, the guy that I share a podcast studio with. Basically it's like this online trivia game that just blew up. It's kind of like Wordle but for facts, and now I like a sports, so every day there's like sports quizzes, and so I run that part-time too. So those are my four babies. Yeah. Dude,
amazing. The beer pong tournament for startups, that is so tech bro-y of you. I'm impressed, and I also want to enter. So well done. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, it's funny too because like, I mean, it's my last year doing it. I turned 30 on April 6th, and we're gonna do it on April 1st. And I'll play beer. I mean, I can play beer pong or any sport until I'm like 100 years old. But like, I don't want to be the 30-year-old guy hosting the event. And I run a cool SaaS, and I host a bunch of fun events. And so people around town have started to be like, "Hey, this is Cory. He hosts those beer pong tournaments." And I'm just like, dude, like stop introducing me.
Yeah, it's like, let's change the bio, please.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what though? I think that's so impressive there's some advice to not just go to the events, but like host and be the event, because it naturally makes you someone that people kind of gravitate towards where you can meet. And so like, any advice or tips? Because I had a little meetup I was doing here in Seattle around like growth marketing. Like then COVID happened. I just kind of like stopped it. Like any more like what's like the bear or the bull case, like why people should start hosting more local events?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say tons of different points to that. I mean, I think first and foremost, if you're not good with people, like you should not host events. Like I'm not saying, I mean, like anyone listening, they're like, I'm gonna go do it. It's like if you're not good with people, if you're not well organized, if you're not like, I think you need to be empathetic. Like when I'm hosting a big event, I'm trying to make sure that everybody in the room is happy. Like if I see one person in the corner kind of by themselves, I'm like, hey, why don't you go talk to this person? Because I'm very outgoing, and I hate going to events where I feel kind of like left out. So I think as long as you're like an outgoing, like empathetic person, like you should definitely host events. I mean, for me, the reason I host them, I mean, there's several reasons. Like the first reason is, you make tons of connections. Kind of like you said, it's kind of like magnetic, where if I were to go to a happy hour, I'm going to make, 3 or 4 people, 3 or 4 connections. But if I'm hosting the event, I might make 30, 40, 50 connections because someone brings their friend, and then you host another event. That person brings their friend again, and then that friend brings a friend. And so it really just magnifies how many people you can meet. And what was your question? Why I do it, or how to make them successful? Sorry.
Well, no, I think the case why you should do it, then any like tips or hacks, because like all of a sudden you have a beer pong tournament with 500 plus teams or whatever. Like, give me the cheat sheet on how to do it well. I'm like, all right, I'm in Seattle. I'm going to reactivate my growth marketing meetup. How do I make it a success so it's not just me and like 2 random interns at UW like staring at each other?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's sometimes how it starts too. Like when I first started hosting events, I was living in LA for a few years, and Started off just like, maybe 25 to 30 of us. And then all of a sudden it was like 60 and then 100. And there's definitely nothing wrong with that. I mean, sometimes like a 7 to 10 person group dinner is the best way to do it. And that actually is one of my pieces of advice, is like, start off by doing like a 5 to 10 person dinner and tell everyone to bring somebody. And then you got like 15 people in a room, and then you can just keep doing those events. And eventually you have a happy hour. The way I did it was, for my first event specifically, I went on LinkedIn and I found every single person in tech. Well, that's not true. I found a lot of people in tech in LA. And I just sent them a DM saying, hey, I'm hosting an event in Santa Monica tomorrow. Would love if you came. Well, it wasn't tomorrow, it was like a week later, but would love if you came out. Obviously it's free of charge. I personally upfront just kind of covered some of the sponsorship dollars. And then, over time, like it gets to the point where, maybe you're breaking even. And then eventually I'm at the point now where I should make like a pretty hefty sum of money for this next beer pong tournament. So to describe how to host a beer pong tournament, like now it involves like stages, and I have DJs, and I'm getting food trucks, and I have like a full security staff. Like it's basically a festival at this point. It's not even a happy hour.
Yeah.
But just events in general, like starting off small, getting friends of friends to get people involved. And then, getting a like private area at a bar. I usually call the bar, email them ahead of time, say, hey, I'm going to bring in 30 people. We'd love an area. Because no one wants to go to an event where you kind of like walk in and you don't know where to go. So there needs to be some sort of signage, but then, just starting small and grow, and then, use LinkedIn to find people to go to the event.
Yeah, I actually like starting small and almost making it exclusive, where if you can keep the quality high. Okay, you've maybe inspired me to dust off the meetup group. It's a great hack too for building an email list, which is also nice for stuff you want to do. Okay, so I want to know, like, for people that don't know, like, give like the quick pitch on what is WeStrive.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so easiest way to look at it is we're an all-in-one tool for personal trainers and gyms. So basically, we started off with trainers and we've expanded into the gym like enterprise model. But if you're a personal trainer and you want to build or grow your business, whether it's in person or online, you're going to use Excel to build a program. You're going to use PayPal or Venmo to send payments. You're going to be using a notes app to track progress sometimes. I mean, it's pretty chaotic. So with us, what we do is we put that all in one. We have a beautiful program builder. We offer thousands of photos and videos of exercises that you can utilize. We handle payments. We handle progress tracking. We give you a beautiful mobile app. We even do white labeling, like pretty much anything that you need as a trainer, we handle. And then as you expand into the enterprise side of things, what we realize is that we landed this massive partner in the gym space, and they do all of the front end gym software where you scan in, you buy your protein powder, maybe you get like a shake, and then, you can see like who the staff is for that day that's working. But what they don't have is all the personal training. So you go to a Gold's or like a Lifetime or something like that, and maybe you want to follow a workout on your own. They don't have that option. Maybe you want to find a personal trainer. Cool. You have a trainer now, but he has a clipboard, and then you have literally no way of seeing anything that you've ever done. There's no progress. You kind of just, maybe you could ask them for the piece of paper that they have, but like, that's, whatever. And now we come in, we take our software, we drop it in. So now you have an actual app where you can track like your body weight, your bench press, your squat, you get your program. They can send you a survey. They can ask you to track a habit. The coach and the gym themselves have this full database where they can actually like see your entire fitness journey and build out plans for you. So basically, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're an all-in-one personal training software, but everyone from a physical therapist to a gym is able to utilize it.
Yeah, and it's a pretty slick website, and they've got a free trial. You start at $5 a seat for personal trainers, and then it can kind of go up for gyms and clubs. And so I want to know, like, I always like hearing someone's background and know like their kind of superpowers. You kind of already alluded to that. Like, you're very willing to put yourself out there. You're good. You've like coordinated events, very much this connector. Anything else people should know, like before you started companies, any more color on your background that kind of shaped going into like the entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's basically no background, which is the weird part. Let me take that step back. The background I have is the first 4.5 years of my startup journey. I built out a B2C fitness product that just didn't work. So in February, it'll be 8 years since I started on this startup journey. I got my accounting degree in college, my senior year of college. I thought it was weird that I was really big into fitness. I did fitness competitions, that kind of stuff. And I thought it was weird that all of my friends were like, how do I get my bench press up? How do I get my squat up? And I would like text them little workouts, or I'd be like, Google this. And I thought it was weird that there wasn't a database of just thousands of workout programs. And I was naive, and I lived in Eastern Washington. I know you're in Seattle. I was on the other side. Had I been in Seattle, I might have had better mentors, but in Spokane and Cheney, where I went to college, there isn't exactly, I was the only one out of every friend I ever met and their friends that built an app. So I was basically like alone on this island, and I was like, oh, cool, I'm going to make this app and we're going to make it work. And it just took years, and I failed so many times. I lost so much money. We finally ended up launching it. There's a whole nother story with Apple, where I had this big launch party on a rooftop in Santa Monica, like 3 or 4 years later. Apple pulls the app from the App Store the day of the launch party. So like, instead of having this app, you had to like sign up on a piece of paper. It was so irritating. But after all that, we had thousands of programs, hundreds of personal trainers, and it was just way too competitive. And I wasn't ready to be a CEO yet. We had apps like Nike and Gymshark launching that offered free plans. I would argue our plans were more specific, because you could say like, I want to lose weight 3 days a week, 45 minutes a day, $15 a month. And then, I like this type of weightlifting. But at the end of the day, it was just insanely competitive. And we had to kind of just launch, and a month or two later, pull the plug. So that's kind of my background. Like, yeah, I have my accounting degree. Yeah, I worked out, that kind of stuff. But like, that didn't train me for my current role nearly as much as 4 to 4.5 years of like waiting tables, building up this B2C platform that ended up just completely being worth nothing. So that's my background, basically.
Yeah, you know what though? Like, I think there's two paths, because I was like a finance major, similar to you. You did accounting, which I think would have been better than what I did in finance. And I worked in investment bank, and then everybody's like, "Oh, you got to go get an MBA." And MBAs are freaking expensive. It's like 150, 300K. I learned better through experience, and you kind of went down that personal MBA path where it's like, hey, I'm going to try and do the sales, the marketing, the growth, like the product development. And like, while like you didn't IPO with it, like what you learned there, I think you're doing laps around an MBA program. At least that's what I tell myself, because I did not get the MBA. I literally I bought all the stupid books. I read every single one, and I was about to take the GMAT. I was like, I can't physically do this. I was like, I will jump off a bridge before I go like back to school. But I think like, I think that's like the best like knowledge you can get. And because now, as I want to get into WeStrive, like what's interesting is it didn't scar you in that you're like, I'm gonna go get a real job. You're like, oh no, I'm gonna keep going and like go down this entrepreneurial path. Was there ever any doubt, or did you always have conviction?
There was doubt yesterday. I mean, there's doubt. Like I was literally sweating like yesterday, like laying in bed, just like, oh man, it was like, we're at this weird part where we're almost at break even, but we're not yet. And so it's like, like, yes, we're growing pretty successfully, but like, we still have to keep putting cash to grow. And well, not through marketing, but through development. It's like, it's just anyways, but there's been many points. I mean, especially when I flipped B2C to B2B. I mean, at that point, I'm waiting tables, I'm Ubering, Door Dashing, all that kind of stuff in LA. And like, all my money's just going back into the company. And it's like, hey, you've been working on this for over 4 years now, and you have literally nothing. We sold like $2,000 worth of programs. So it's like, and then to your point about like maybe another job, switching over. I have a bunch of successful buddies. So like they've seen me kind of grind on my social media stories over the years. And so I've gotten some really good job offers. Like a year ago, even up to this day, like I had a guy, they've raised like millions of dollars also in the fitness space. He offered to acquire my company, and then for low millions, and then basically acqui-hire me for a pretty good salary and give me equity. And I turned him down because I know how big WeStrive can be. But that's when the doubts creep in. You're like, can it be that big? Like, I don't know, couple $1 million in my pocket, a good salary. And honestly, the job offer he offered me is my dream job. I love product. I love just like working around in Figma and just making things beautiful. He offered me like a head of product role with like almost founder shares. And I was like, no, it was so hard. Not founder shares, sorry, but it was a decent amount. And so, turning down jobs like that is tough. But at the end of the day, like I really do love running my own company. It's super stressful. I have doubts constantly, but like the the ups outweigh the downs at the end of the day. So I wouldn't be anywhere else, or I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, that has to also give you conviction and a little bit of confidence if people are going the acqui-hire model or trying to do that. You're like, okay, I do have something, but security, like the idea of it is kind of nice, but I don't know. I think once you get a taste of working for yourself, it's really hard to go back unless you're just like literally controlling everything.
Yeah, sure.
So talk to me about how you came with the idea for WeStrive. And when you started to see signals that was working, was it as simple as like, oh, let me pivot B2C to B2B, or how did it come to be?
Yeah. So this kind of, I think you, in our initial email, you asked me a question about like what I would recommend to SaaS founders, and I'll kind of cover that in what you just asked me at the same time. So if I could go back in time, I would have done things a little bit differently because it was not a quick turnaround. It took us about 2 years, maybe even 2.5, to get to the point where last January we had a product that we were like actually confident in. Because this is my advice, I went the all-in-one route, which is what we have. But what you realize is that, especially when you have almost no funding like I did, if you want to build an all-in-one product, like you're not making any money that entire time. There's literally nothing being made. So you're just losing money. Whereas my advice is, if I could go back in time, I would have built a really good kind of like niche app, like a really good calendar or a really good meal tracker that would have been maybe a 3 to 6 month build that we could have charged $15 a month for, and then added all-in-one tools as we scaled. But my thing is, there's like 50 features that are core that we have, and I was trying to build them all at once, and it's just exhausting. So it took us about 2 years to get that going, maybe even longer. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say until like maybe the last couple of months I've been confident in what we're confident as far as like we're going to definitely make it. Because I mean, you see an upgrade in an account, you see a cancel, you see a downgrade, you see an upgrade. So it's constant, but we feel like we've really found our niche. Like we have 2 coaches that are making a lot of money on our platform, and so we know, like, all we have to do is reach out to those coaches, that coaching type. Now we can expand. We've landed the biggest enterprise deal that we could. We're partnered with this this software that works with 19,000 gyms. That should go live in the next couple of weeks, and that's going to just be massive for our growth. So yeah, I would say in the last like 3 to 6 months, I felt like I've made it, but like it took a really long time to kind of get to this point.
That's really good advice. So I want to unpack that a little bit because, I was talking with Nathan Barry and ConvertKit. It's like, what's the path? Because like you, he was bootstrapped, and he's doing email automation, which good luck. There's a million people doing that, and you have to be kind of that all-in-one option. So what you're saying is like, hey, unpack it, find one kind of key hero feature you can do really well, build up the user base, get some money coming in, and then slowly expand to be all in one. Whereas you went this path of doing everything. When it's doing everything, you are accounting background. Who's doing the development? Who's doing the product? Is this another co-founder, or are you kind of finding freelancers to help you and you're overseeing it?
I have a couple of small, like, freelancers that help with like, QA and that kind of stuff. But mostly I have a full dev team in Western Ukraine that I've had for about 4 years now. So they were towards the end of my B2C, very end, and then have moved on with my B2B with me. Love them to death. Like they support me through every possible occasion, ups and downs. Like I've been in debt to them and I've been able to pay them back. Like they've invested their own capital to be a part of WeStrive. And so yeah, I have a full team. I got 1 or 2 guys in the web or back end. I've got 2 mobile developers, amazing designer, a project manager, and then 2 QAs. So a pretty solid team over there. So that's the only way I've been able to push through, is they have a decent amount of equity in WeStrive. Unfortunately, if I didn't have them, I would not have been able to, continue progressing as I have. But if I'd gone with a simple calendar tool, I could have easily progressed. I can't tell you how many times there have been certain like buttons or like small features that coaches are like, can you just do this? I would pay for just this thing. And so if I could go back, that's definitely one thing I would have done, is just start off with one and then expand beyond that.
It's so hard though, because like feature bloat is very real as you're trying to build something to where you just don't ship. Have you become better at being disciplined around, okay, let's control the roadmap. But it's like not being influenced by, oh, that person churned because we didn't have that feature. And that person wants this versus here's my vision, you're Steve Jobsing it of like where the vision should be. How do you balance those two things?
It's honestly like not possible to do it perfectly, which is what I've come to realize, because like you said, I'll have someone, let's say we have our lowest account, $5 a month, and they'll be like, I'm going to cancel because, your password reset didn't work as fast as I wanted it to, or like maybe the link wasn't working on this device or something like that. And then it makes me be like, oh my God, like I want to message my team, like, guys, are you joking me? Like, how is this not fixed yet? But then I'm like, okay, do I focus on this $5 account that's upset about this, or I have this account paying us $500 a month that's like, hey, like, we're hoping to have this feature soon. And I go, okay. Before I would be like, do the $5 one really quick, then we'll get to the 500. But now I'm like, I don't know if I can cuss, but like F the $5 one, we're gonna focus on this $500 one. We're gonna do what makes us money, but while also making our customers happy. So like my biggest problem is I care a lot, very empathetic. Like whenever, like if I see, like today, literally, it was a good day for us. We had like 7 accounts sign up for new subscriptions, like paying, which is great. But then we had like 2 churns, like $25 minus $50. And I'm like, those kill me way more than the grades. And so we're doing stuff like working on our cancellation flow so we can get like the true answers out of why they're canceling. But at the end of the day, I love products so much. My Figma document goes so deep. Like literally, if you go on our Asana, I have it broken down: web, design, mobile, gym, enterprise, all that stuff. And each one has like 70 to 100 tasks in it that are just minuscule. Design is complete, ready to go. And it's really hard to organize them, but you got to just figure out how to prioritize both your customer and your revenue needs, basically, and kind of shut off what you want.
Right. Yeah.
I know I'm on a tangent, but like the last thing I'll say about that is that I made the mistake early on because I interviewed hundreds of personal, like I've probably done over 1,000 Zoom calls with coaches to figure out what they want, which makes me like, that's why I think I'm one of the best in this industry at making the correct product. But I made the mistake of taking mental notes on what they were asking for a very long time. So then you get to the 105th call and you're like, God, I feel like at least 5 people have asked for this feature, but you don't know because you
can't quantify it, right? Yeah,
exactly. And so way too late in the game, but thankfully I did do it. And also what I hate too, another tangent, is that I would advise other entrepreneurs to take notes on their calls, and then I did do it myself. Just every time I'd be like, man, I should be doing that too. That's good advice. But I'm at the point now for the last couple of years where I have like a big Notion doc, and I have like actual stats and rankings on what features are being requested, who requested it, and then a subtitle of like why they requested it. And it helps so much on prioritizing features for sure.
Yeah, I know it's, I should be doing that on sales calls too, because my team will ask me like, oh, what was their biggest concern or whatever. It's like, oh, I think it was this. It's like, crap, why am I not quantifying this?
It's so easy. Just do it. It's so easy. Like once you do it, you'll look at it and be like, oh my God, that's gorgeous. I know what I'm doing now. Like
it's easy advice to give, hard to take. I want to kind of go back to like, so you spoke to like over 1,000 people essentially, which I think people need to hear that, which kind of leads to a question. You're pivoting to B2B. How did you get your first 10, 50 or 100 customers, whether that's free customers or paying customers?
So there's 2 chapters on that. So the B2C, I messaged thousands of people on LinkedIn that are personal trainers, like so many personal trainers. And I was like, hey, I'm building a marketplace for personal trainers, would love to have you on there. Ended up signing about like 400 of them. Obviously that effort is just out the door because we never used it. But like I had like the Denver Broncos strength and conditioning coach. I had like a bunch of like athletic trainers from all these amazing, celebrities, all that kind of stuff. Like David Hasselhoff's trainer was on there. Like we had some cool coaches, but obviously that didn't go anywhere, but it was all on LinkedIn, just LinkedIn message. Like my LinkedIn to this day is just like thousands of coaches that probably dilute my algorithm because they don't follow any of my stuff. But I'm convinced that's why I have like 30,000 connections on LinkedIn and I get like no likes. And I'm like, probably because they don't use LinkedIn anymore. But with the B2B model, a few things. I mean, I started off, because again, still like learning as a new CEO, like for the B2B, just a lot of like Instagram outreach, like, hey, we built this marketplace, but now you can run your business on it too. So that's kind of how we started. But how our natural growth has been is a lot of tons of SEO, putting out a bunch of blogs about like how to grow your business. And like another thing is definitely going to be partnerships. So we partnered with ISSA, which is a big certification. And then through a lot of the blogs, they also give out their own certs. So we would like rank to this day, we still rank like top 5 on a bunch of different blogs that are like best personal training software. And then I'm missing one point, but yeah, last thing would just be getting a bunch of good reviews on like G2, Capterra, and all those. So those are kind of like the most important things for like our growth.
Yeah, it's worth calling out to the scale at which you did this manual kind of cold outreach, because even talking to like some other founders, like, Sam at Testimonial Hero, they close like over 7 figures just by doing cold outreach through LinkedIn. I think a lot of times, and I've been guilty of this, I'll try something and I'll do it at a small scale. I'm like, oh, it doesn't work. And you're like, oh, I need to move on to the next thing. It's like, oh no, it's like 10x the volume to get a decent sample size. So were you doing that manually, just grinding, or were you building systems and having virtual assistants do that? Like, I'm always interested in how people kind of pull things like that off.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, like for the first several years, like, I mean, when I first started, I don't even know if there was automated systems, and if there were, I didn't use them. I would just manually do it. And to be honest, like, I'm actually glad I did that, because I feel like when you manually do it, like, you're actually looking at their profile and you're like, is this type of person that would sign up anyways? And then if the message means more and you're like, no, I did send this message, like, this is me. Granted, I would totally have automated it if I had thought about it or if I figured it out. But yeah, I mean, nowadays, like for the last couple of years, I have a VA sending those out, so it's fine. But like, I mean, yeah, like it was definitely manual. And I had a pretty good strategy that had a really high success rate. So instead of just saying like, you get the LinkedIn bullshit, like, book that people send you, I would just say, hey, sorry for the random message. I'm building out a trainer marketplace, and I was wondering if you're still a personal trainer. And that was all I said. And it was super simple. I found in my random messages that ending in a question typically gets a response. And if you can keep it below like 3 or less sentences, you get a response almost every time too. And they'd be like, yeah, I actually am a trainer. And then like 3 or 4 messages in, you ask the question. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty much mostly manual for the majority of like the early growth.
Yeah, that's really good advice too, because when it's that short, they can't not read it because it's only 3 lines. It's like you trade, like, yep, you have to read it. And it's genuine too when it's from the founder or the business owner. So it's so funny because that's how we started this agency. I would just see people looking to hire a growth marketer or a growth hacker, and I'd apply for the job. Be like, just kidding, but you can hire my agency. Half the time, like, get the F out of here. Other times, like, okay, we'll talk to you. But then I tried to scale it too soon, and I'd have VAs do it, and it just didn't work. And then I'd go do it, and it would work. And I was like, maybe my SOPs are crap. But yeah, I think that's good advice.
No, that's tough. I mean, it's so hard to have a VA, like, because sometimes you see their picture and you're like, oh my God, I should say this instead, actually. And so it's impossible to replicate that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because it's always tough as a founder to balance scalable versus non-scalable, and so you never want to lose that hustle. But what's impressive, you start with this scrappy tactic, you put some automation to it, you then bolt on SEO, you're now getting partner channels to work. I mean, those are huge unlocks that can really compound. Those are big things of leverage, but you kind of have to start with those ones that don't scale, it seems like in the early days.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost impossible to just like launch a personal training software and then be like, put me on your blog. It takes a while. And like there was one guy, I even had him on my podcast years ago when I had a fitness podcast. And then like I messaged him and I emailed him and I messaged him and I emailed, and he never would put me on his blog. And I was like, dude, I know for a fact you don't know any of these other softwares. You know me, put me on your blog. And I randomly walked by him at a conference in Miami, and I was like, are you this guy? And he's like, yeah, what's up, dude? And then he put me on like the next week. That was like 2 years after he said he would do it. But yeah, I sent so many emails out. Like what's crazy is like, just so to be blunt on our numbers, we're doing, we're processing like 600K a year in payments, and then our MRR is like 6K or something like that. Yeah, once the enterprise goes live, like any of these gyms will be 6K. So it'll
Amazing.
be good. Yeah. So I'm excited. Like they work with like Lifetime and Blink and LA Fitness and all these cool gyms, and it's gonna be a good few years for us. But what was my point? Oh yeah. So, but basically, like, we're not doing any ads right now. We're just kind of waiting for this enterprise deal to go live. And yet, like, I'm getting, 10 to 15 conversions a week now. And it's all from those blogs I did like 2 years ago, 1 year ago. And they're just like clicking, signing up. I'm getting the email that I owe them, a little referral. It's good to go. Like, it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, SEO, you feel so smart when you do that in the early days and it starts to pay off. That's awesome. So you've given good advice on, like, pivoted from B2C to B2B, how you got clients in the early days, you're getting a partner channel to work, but really with SaaS, it's trying to unlock what is that right pricing model, right? Yeah. It's like, do we price on features? Do we price on usage? Do we expose the pricing? Do we not?
It's got 18 more dollars. Nice. There you go.
There we go, man. Making money while you talk, man. There you go. That's the SaaS dream as an agency owner.
That's the pricing right there. That's the price.
Yeah, there it is. Like, talk through how you settled on like your pricing model.
Yeah, it's tough because like and that's kind of why we moved upriver. It's like we started at B2C and we're like, hey, do you want to give us $5? And it's like, no. And we're like, hey, this is dumb. And then we're like, we're in B2B and we're like, we built you all these tools. And then they're like, I don't want to pay you $17. And we're like, what? This is ridiculous. And then now we're in enterprise and we're like, it's $500. And they're like, okay, cool. Yeah, whatever. I don't care. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what? Like, so and the crazy thing about enterprise too is that it's 99% the exact same features that we have for our personal trainers, but for a gym. And they're like, yeah, I don't care. Like, go ahead. Like, white label, how much is it? $200 a month. Yeah, add that. I don't care. Like, how many locations do we have? 3. I add them all. I don't care. And it's like my conversion rate on talking to and I'll hop on all those gym calls. So I'm like, this is easily 6K ARR, if not more. So like, why not just take a 30-minute call? Conversion rate is absurdly high. Like, they just love it and they're ready to go. But when it comes to choosing pricing, it's tough. Like, we had a coach like who started off, we used to have a 125 for our unlimited plan for personal trainers, and we upped it to 250. We had a coach that was just like, wasn't abusing it because we were making a lot of money off of all the transactions she was doing, because we make money off that too. But she has like 2,400 clients on our platform. And I was kind of just like, dude, like, messaged her one day and I was like, I'm gonna be honest with you, like, we're going to just move you to 250 because this is absurd and you should not be paying 125. And I know how much money you make from us. she was literally just like, yeah, that's fine. And we just upped her to 250. But like, when it comes to pricing, I mean, obviously you got to look at your competitors. Like, if we didn't have any competition, I would not charge $17 for five clients. It's just absurd. We do too many things. It makes no sense. Like, I would charge probably $30 or something like that, or 50. But at the end of the day, if our competitor is charging 20 or 15, like, we're going to have to be somewhere in that range that's reasonable. With that being said, we have like a free account for your first client, and then $5 for your second, and then 17 or above. And I started off like with the mindset of, we should be able to offer a longer free trial and have like really inexpensive accounts so we can get these coaches in, then they can learn the process and then grow. And I still have that mindset, but I've kind of flipped to the point where I'm like, we're running a business and you should not get all of these tools for 2 clients for $5 a month. It's just too low. It's like, because those are the people that are complaining the most. Those are the ones that want all the features. And I spend time I'm like, what are we doing here? And so we're probably going to eliminate that plan. We're probably going to take our 17 up to 20, and we're probably going to increase our gym account pricing too. Cause like, it just, we do too many cool things for the price that it currently is. So I would just say, my only piece of advice when it comes to pricing is like, obviously study your competition, look up all the pricing, manuals and guides for SaaS that you can. But at the end of the day, like, don't underprice yourself. And then I'll go against what a lot of people say. They're like, don't underprice yourself early. If you're early, like, feel free and give a discount, dude. Like, those people will eventually cancel. They're going to give you great feedback. Like, don't be afraid to just like give them half off just so you can see.
Right. Yeah.
how they experience, big rant. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's good advice because you just want data in the early days. The other thing that you brought up is as you go from this lower tier where it's more self-serve to enterprise, then we're talking not just marketing, but sales, right? So how has that changed going after this enterprise? One, like, how do you find the enterprise client? And then how do you close them? Are you like getting on calls? Do you have a fancy pitch deck? Are you going to like, martini lunches? What's changing?
Yeah, so I mean, we do have a fancy pitch deck, which I love making pitch decks. It's all self-serve, so we've had a few gyms sign up on their own. But at the same time, like I have an email and a thing that pops up, like I want you to hop on a call with us. Like it's worth the time for me to get to know you because like you might have 70 locations and we could make tens of thousands of dollars a month off of you. So like I want to hop on all those calls. Plus gym owners talk. So if you can get one that like there are coaches in gyms in the past that have signed up that probably wouldn't have had they not hopped on the call and gotten to know me. So I want to be on all those calls that I can. But yeah, I mean it's the good thing about it is with this enterprise deal we have, our enterprise partner, we're giving them a decent commission and they're doing all of the sales for us. So they basically already work with all these massive gyms, and in all of their annual reviews and in all of their new deal flow calls, they're basically now saying as of next week, hey, we also have this tool, WeStrive. I'm going to walk you through the deck really quick. I know you guys have personal trainers at all of your locations. This is a great tool. Not only that, but we have an API. So the way we have WeStrive set up is basically anytime you add a new client to your gym under this tag or a new coach under this tag, they have an automatic WeStrive account and you can start training with them immediately. So that's kind of the new sale that they have. And so we should start seeing some pretty cool deal flow coming in soon.
Nice, man. That's exciting. And your valuation as you go down this enterprise path will just go up and up. So that's super exciting. So you kind of gave some good advice on like going into SaaS, but I guess the final question on like having a tech-based company, what's other advice you'd give to people that are like, hey, I'm starting a SaaS tomorrow? What's like the must do, don't do list? You already gave advice on launching with kind of like that key feature rather than the all in. You gave some good advice on discounts and pricing. What else?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different things. Like, I mean, I'm thinking about my specific advice. One thing I always tell like app founders is like launch a website before you launch an app, so make sure it works. I mean, as far as SaaS goes, I mean, I think my number one advice is what I've already said is like hop on so many calls, like hop on countless calls with your audience, and then don't even try and sell them early on, because especially when you don't have a product. I see a lot of founders try and like close deals. I'm like, dude, they're not going to pay you. I think, especially when we were moving to B2B or to enterprise, excuse me, I hopped on a call with a bunch of gym owners and I was like, hey man, like we're not gonna have this product for a year, but like I would love to just like get to know what you're looking for, because I know how the market works. I know there's gaps. I know we can make a better one. So like, let me just talk to you for 20 minutes, explain my idea, hear your thoughts on it. And when we do launch it, I'll give you like X% off so that you can have an early user. By doing that, you're going to get so much feedback. Like you'll be on a call like, oh, I never even considered that being an option. You're like, what? And they like write that down. Like it'll save you so much time. And more likely than not, when that product does go live, a lot of those people are going to sign up with you. They might not convert, but like they're going to be super impressed that like you actually pulled through what you said you were going to do. And they're going to like actually use the account and try it. Might even be like a paying customer. So yeah, that'd be like my number one advice, just hop on a bunch of calls.
Yeah, isn't that funny? It's like the simplest, easy advice, but it's literally the best thing that everyone should do, and people forget. It's yeah. I was talking to the guy at Bala Shoes. He's like, I spoke to 300 people before launching these shoes for nurses. He's like, couldn't have done it without it. Sad how many times I need to hear that for it to get through, but that's really good advice. Yeah. Well, cool, man. Well, one question that I like to ask everybody to kind of like end on is this idea of, what's the nicest thing anyone's done for you in your professional career?
Ooh. I do not know. Let me think. I know
Well, actually, even to just buy you a little bit of time, like I've heard some people give really good gratitude, like, oh, someone opened this door for me. Another of my buddies gave this example of like really tough love he got from a professor that's like, you're worthless and get your act together. So you can go whatever path you want.
That's fair. I mean, I would say, I'm going to be forgetting something. Oh, actually, this watch I have,
a fancy watch. I meant to say something. You got some good bling.
Well, no, I wouldn't say this is number one, but my second year working on my B2C in Spokane, I was like for like 6 months, I was like an assistant manager at Rite Aid or something, and my co-assistant manager, before I left to move to LA, he literally, like gave me this watch, and he was like, hey man, like, I know you're moving into like the startup world and you're going to be like a big business owner someday. And like, I'm not in the business world and I don't really need a watch. And like, I want you to have this. And just gave it to me. And it was like, he took it off the wrist and gave it to me. And I was like, dude, like, I wear it like every day now. And I like love this watch. And it was just so kind and like just supportive. And so, I mean, I can definitely shout out my Ukraine team that's been supportive with me the entire time. Like I would not be here without them. But at the end of the day, it's acts like this, like people just like, going out of their way to just tell me like how much they believe in me and support me and, get nothing out of it, just people like that. Just really appreciative of that.
That's an awesome story. That's really cool. Yeah. I need to always have a nice watch on at all times that I can just hand to people. That's a good hack as well to know.
He's got like 14 in his car. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And sorry, just because I have to talk to me, like, you're super fit, you work out in addition to having a fitness app. Talk to me, like, give me a productivity or workout hack that allows you to kill two birds, one stone to like get an advantage on the day. What do you got? Do I need more creatine, protein? Are you like doing kettlebell swings while coding? What is it?
I'll say two things. I'll say one, I'm very strong, but I'm working on I'm strong and I'm fit, but it might not look I got some stomach right now is what I'm trying to say. So like
that beer pong tournament, man. It's the beer pong tournament.
Well, I just play. I just run. I don't get to play, but like, so I'm working on getting to like ultimate fit. Like I've been counting calories and getting all that, but my ultimate productivity hack is, if you, and I do this all the time and I absolutely love it. So if you walk at an incline, you actually can burn, please correct me, like Google this, correct me if I'm wrong, but like this is what I've heard a million times. You actually burn more fat walking at an incline, like on a hike or on a treadmill, than you do like jogging. So walking at an incline is great for you. And what you can do is take an iPad, so I even take my entire laptop and I will walk at like a 2.5 to 2.7 speed, like 11 incline. And I will just work for like 30 minutes in the morning on my laptop. And if you use an elliptical, sometimes you can place your laptop so perfectly.
Oh, nice.
You can literally like work and just use your legs and just like type, and it works perfectly. And you'll burn like 500 calories and get like honestly more work done than normal because there's nothing to distract you because you're just staring at a computer while you're on elliptical. So I do it all the time, and it's an awesome hack for sure.
That's amazing. It's kind of like when you're on the airplane. I'm the most productive on an airplane because there's nothing else to do. So
yeah,
it's a good one, man. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, Cory, this is a blast, man. It's fun to get to know you. And again, people, if anyone's in the gym space, definitely go check out WeStrive. And like Cory's podcast is amazing. Go download it. We'll put it in the show notes. But where else can people connect with you, or where can they follow what you're building?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, I tweet about my growth all the time on Twitter. So Cory McKane on Twitter. And then I'm on Instagram, Cory.mf, and I post way too much on my story about my progress each day. So like my really cool, my friends that have been friends with me over like 7 or 8 years, like saw the first time we did like a Kickstarter t-shirt campaign all the way to like I'm speaking with the LA Fitness, staff to, on like, or like the CEO to like close on. So it's been a cool like journey as we progress. So either of those work, LinkedIn, feel free to shoot me an email. Just Cory@WeStrive.com, and yeah, man, I mean, I'm pretty reachable.
Nice. Well, dude, thank you so much for the time, dude. Really cool to see what you're building, but look forward to meeting you in person one day.
Absolutely, man. Come out to Austin.
Done.